Welcome back. You're watching the Power Breakfast Show. Now, a few months back, Mwalimu SACCO Cooperative happened to acquire Equatorial Commercial Bank, a very small bank that was not really showing any profit margins. And many asked, why would a SACCO do something like that? Well, to help us understand that, together with many other things about the SACCO this morning, we're joined by Mr. Robert Lukhanda Shibutse. He's the CEO of Mwalimu National SACCO, together with Mrs. Teresa Mutegi. She's also the chairperson of this SACCO. They'll help us understand. And of course, many people are asking, and what do the shareholders have to gain when it comes to this acquisition, among other things? If you have any questions, remember 22422 is the SMS line, or you can get us on our social media platforms. Our Twitter handle at Citizen TV Kenya. The hashtag is Power Breakfast. Our Facebook page is a Power Breakfast Show. Mutegi Njau, of course, is moderating this discussion, and he will be going through the SMSs as well as the social media messages, just to find out what you think, what you feel about the conversation. Mutegi?
Welcome, Mrs. Mutegi. May I declare that Mrs. Mutegi is not my relative? Welcome, Mr. Sibutse also.
Thank you.
We have heard that the reason why we are here is because your cooperative society, your SACCO, bought a bank from Merari. I think this year or last year?
This year. The process started last year.
Maybe we should start by that, since you are new chief executive.
Yes.
Maybe the chairman should be able, the chairperson should be able to tell us the justification. Why would a teachers cooperative society want to buy a bank?
To buy a bank, yes, Mutegi. Thank you for that question. I want to start by saying that Mwalimu was registered in 1974. And we have given a very wide range of services to our members. But one issue which was still a big problem to our members was banking services. Because as a SACCO, you know very well, Mutegi, we are not in the clearing house. We started our forces, these are front offices, but still we are limited in terms of services we can give with the front offices. For example, we sell banker checks, but they are not Mwalimu SACCO banker checks. We have to use a third party. Sometimes our members have an appetite for bigger loans. They want a commercial bank loan. We can only give the SACCO loan of 3 times, 4 times, 6 times. But there are members who feel they want a commercial bank loan, which has no shares, no guarantors. And therefore, we felt it's the high time we invest in a bank. And since Mwalimu had grown in terms of savings, then we felt having a subsidiary as an investment in a bank would be the right thing to do. And I want to say this idea did not start last year. It started some 5 years ago, where our members would feel, what is the management doing about solving some of their problems? And for the last 3 years, during our annual delegates meeting and our NGMs in the branch, we were talking about the bank. And last year, they gave us the mandate to go and look for a bank. Mr. Mutegi, there were many options. And there are 3 options which were there. Either we start a bank from the scratch, or merge with an existing bank, or acquiring a bank. We looked at the 3 options as a board, and that's the time actually Robert was coming in as our new CEO, and we realized that acquiring a bank would be the easier route. We went around looking for a bank, and there were several. There are several of them. We had even almost started talks with one, but before we could conclude that we could start the talks, it was bought. So the idea of Equatorial came, and we looked at it, and we said yes, we can buy, because we wanted a bank where we can buy majority shares, so that we can have control.
I thought, for pursuing this same matter, I thought the cooperative bank was set up to serve cooperatives. So what is wrong with the Mwalimu SACCO dealing with the cooperative bank? Because essentially, cooperative bank is for cooperative societies and cooperatives.
Yes.
What is the shortcoming of dealing with the cooperative bank?
Actually, even to date, we are dealing with the cooperative bank, even to date as I speak, even after acquiring Equatorial Bank, because the services we do with the bank are many. We have been dealing with the cooperative bank, but as I've seen Mutegi, cooperative bank is a third party. There are things Mwalimu SACCO, Mwalimu has grown now to a size of a bank. There are things we would have wanted to do as Mwalimu SACCO, so that we also maximize on the profits and give a return to our members. When you sell a banker check and we are sharing 50-50, it's not fair, because you can sell the same and get 100% to our members. So there are a few other things we wanted to do as Mwalimu and then grow our profits. Cooperative bank, yes, but there are a few other issues here and there, particularly our ATM cards we have been using with cooperative bank, and sometimes they have not worked well. As I speak now, for the last 1 week, they have not worked well, and we felt if it was our own service, we are giving ATM service, we are in control. We are able to know what to do at the right time, because our members will get very frustrated, and we keep talking to our bank, but sometimes you find the response is it's not as you expect. Yes, cooperative bank, but we also felt we have grown. 40 years down the line, we can also operate a bank.
Mrs. Woods,
yes.
As a technocrat.
Yes.
We have dealt with cooperatives in this country for years.
Yes.
From agricultural cooperatives to now Matatu cooperatives.
Yes.
To SACCOs, employers or employees.
Yes.
Is that justification for a cooperative society to own a bank?
Yes, there is. I'll add on to what the national chair has said. Remember, at the end of the day, especially I'll talk about the deposit-taking SACCOs where Mwalimu is. We are regulated by SASRA. Commercial banks are regulated.
What is SASRA?
That is SACCOs and Societies Regulatory Authority.
Yes.
And so we end up falling under the Ministry of Industrialization. Commercial banks are regulated through central banks, so hence through the Treasury. Now, unfortunately, the playing field is not level. What services does Mwalimu offer? We take in member savings or deposits and we lend to them. However, there are other financial services which our members, as the chair has said, are asking for. But unfortunately, given that we are under SASRA, there are some services we cannot offer because our license restricts us. Simple things like what she's spoken about, bankers' checks. We are not members of the clearinghouse, hence cannot issue our own bankers' checks. Talk about ATM cards. If we were doing local ATM cards, that would be fine. But our members travel and want to travel with Mwalimu debit cards. To do that, you then have to have Visa and MasterCard license, which can only be held by a commercial bank and not by a deposit-taking SACCO. That's another restriction. There are times during the year when Mwalimu has excess liquidity because our borrowing is cyclical. There are months where it's high, months where it's low. Because we're not part of the interbank again, we cannot lend in the interbank. And unfortunately, a central depository liquidity system under the deposit-taking SACCOs is not in place. So to achieve all this, we felt this can only be done through a commercial banking license. Then again, given the growth of Mwalimu today is the largest SACCO in Kenya, even in Africa.
Not Harambee?
Mwalimu is the largest by total assets. Yeah. We're looking at total assets.
In terms of numbers?
In terms of numbers, in fact, that's where we feel as a board and management have done very well, because as at end of 2014, we had 60,900 members. And even with 60,900 members, that puts us third in terms of membership. We still had the largest balance sheet. First two is Harambee, and actually the first one is Unitas in terms of numbers. Second is Harambee.
Unitas
then
is the one from Murang'a.
Yes, in terms of membership numbers, yes. So Mwalimu is third, but in terms of balance sheet, total assets, Mwalimu is at 28 billion end of last year. So we are the largest in terms of total assets. So at that point, it was ready for Mwalimu to transition into the banking service. However, the chair has also said the first option of merging, that will have meant converting Mwalimu into a bank, was not viable. Reason being then our members, our 60,000 members, stop being members, they become normal bank clients. So the liquidity which we derive from their monthly contributions would come to an end. They're no longer obliged to do that. That's why that option was put to rest. Starting a bank, very difficult. Getting the banking license, meeting core capital requirements, critical mass, you need the clients, the business, the branches. That was also going to be a very difficult process. We've seen one or two banks who have done that in the last 6 years. It's not going very well. So we thought acquire an existing infrastructure. And that is how we ended up with Equatorial. They have the branches, they have the license, they have the card licenses, Visa and Master, they're in the clearinghouse, and that will now enable us grow and move to the next level. So the society remains, but we have a bank which we're in control of to give the services that we could not do as a society.
A very tricky affair, this one.
Yes.
Because it is tricky in the sense that, first of all, your members are members of the SACCO.
Yes.
They are not necessarily account holders in that bank.
Yes.
They can choose not to go to that bank.
Yes.
What would happen?
Now, just to respond to that, why would they choose not to go? Let's look at it this
Because
way.
if I'm in equity and I've alone in equity,
Yes.
in a way to go to bank,
Yes.
why shouldn't I go to Equatorial Commercial
Okay,
Bank?
then this is the value add.
Yes.
Today, I'm a member of Mwalimu by virtue of being CEO, and I have another bank account because I have to do some transactions which the society cannot do. Now, whichever commercial bank I'm in, I'm not a shareholder. So yes, I'm transacting with that bank, but the profit that bank is deriving for me as a client goes to their shareholders. When our members, and they're very glad to do so, transact with the Equatorial Commercial Bank, when the bank is profitable and pays dividends, it comes back to them. So when they walk into an Equatorial branch, they're not only a client, but also a shareholder.
Why Equatorial Commercial Bank? Because the story of the seller is known. He's the one who goes and buys stuff upstairs and sells downstairs. Within an hour, he's made his billions. Okay. There's a feeling of perception, maybe wrong, that actually teachers were going to buy Equatorial Commercial Bank.
Maybe I could start
Yes.
part of it, and
Yeah.
Robert can proceed. The idea of Equatorial Bank came up even before Robert reported as a CEO. And you are not only looking at Equatorial Bank.
You told me you looked at many.
There are many, and we looked at many other issues about those banks. Because not every bank is really, some banks have issues. And I want to say one bank which came to our attention was KREP. And as you are aware, KREP was bought. We had two other banks, maybe I may not want to mention their names, but we did our own due diligence, and we found some have other issues, political issues, connected to the former regimes and the other issues. And we felt we cannot. Come Equatorial Bank, there were no issues with Equatorial Bank, except that it's a small bank, except that it was not making profits. But we were looking for infrastructure, as Robert has put it. And they were willing to sell 75% of their shareholding in the bank. Because if I look like KREP, they wanted to sell 61%. But where we got a good offer of 75%, we were happier with the Equatorial Bank. Because 75%, Mr. Mutegi, that is good. Because the minority shareholder is 25%. And I can tell you, when we discussed with our members, they were happy that we have gotten finally a bank that is willing to offload 75% of their shareholding. Maybe the other bit, Robert can explain why the issues of the owner of the bank.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Maybe in response to the question of Merali and why did we then choose Equatorial, having known that background history. First, let me start by saying, remember, Equatorial Commercial Bank is regulated. So unlike other companies where a shareholder could interfere, you cannot interfere too much with operations of any bank, given that there's a very strong regulator in place, Central Bank. So any matters about Equatorial, in fact, you will not even have to go to Equatorial. If you go to Central Bank, they would be able to tell you, Bank A has these challenges, Bank B these challenges. So you're assured that there is another third party who can tell you the issues at the bank. Secondly, Equatorial has had a very strong audit firm in place, KPMG. And that is one of the strictest top 4 audit firms in the country. So again, you had another avenue of knowing the auditors who are in place are honest enough, straight enough to tell you these are the issues with the institution, which made us know what is going on. So that gave us comfort that this is a regulated entity we are buying and not a non-regulated entity. Then again, there's the issue of affordability. How much were they willing to sell us 75% for vis-a-vis another institution? Today, even if Equity came and said they can sell to us 75%, can we afford Equity? Chances are not. What were we looking at? At a bank that is smaller than Mwalimu, enabling Mwalimu to be able to purchase and also exert control. Those are some of the issues, criteria we were looking at.
So how much did the teachers part with to buy the bank?
In terms of parting with, in total, the transaction was two-phased. One was a capital injection, so it was subscribing to new shares. Secondly, it was purchase of existing shares, and it is a two-phase transaction, 51% initially, and as the chair has said, we'll acquire another 24% to get to 75. For the initial purchase, we spent 1.6 billion, $1 billion to purchase existing shares, and 661 million as a capital injection into the bank. Because one of the challenges, which I'm sure we'll discuss, is why was the bank not making money? Key reason, undercapitalization. So we have put in additional capital into the bank.
The bank, according to this report, which was a report on inquiry of Mwalimu SACCO, the bank had issues about loans.
Yes.
What have you done about those loans, which made some of them probably not be paid? And how much was the outstanding?
Okay, in terms of the loan book, Mutegi, remember all banks have a department called credit risk. Credit risk is a factor for all the 44 banks in the country, and even deposit-taking SACCOs. We all look at credit risk. That department is there because we do know loans will become delinquent, they'll be non-performing, and they have to be managed. Now, Equatorial was in the same situation. The inquiry report, and actually putting the inquiry report aside, we did a due diligence, and the financial and credit due diligence was done by Ernst & Young, EY, and they raised these issues with us and told us, as you negotiate, remember that they have this portion of the book which we feel is not adequately provided for. So
which was that amount of money?
It was close to, the non-performing book was almost 2 billion. They had made some provisions, but the auditors felt during the due diligence would have to make additional provisions. Now, what EY raised was the same thing KPMG raised. So the reports, the audit reports and what our due diligence team found was the same. So what we asked the bank to do as part of the transaction, and this is very evident in their 2014 results, make the full provisions. Now, these loans are secured, but we know the process that you need to go through when you're collecting and trying to recover securities from non-performing accounts. As that process is going on, we are adequately provided. That is why they did the provisions of close to 880 million in 2014. But as we collect now from the clients, as we sell the securities or restructure the loans, that money will then come back. In the event it does not come back because either an item was not well secured, these are warranty matters which both our lawyers and the former shareholders' lawyers have dealt with in terms of warranties. How do you go back and claim portions that were not secured? But so far from what we're seeing, a big portion of it is secured and it will be recovered as we go through the motions of collecting. But we did the full provisions in 2014 so that as Mwalimu comes in as a major shareholder, we are not carrying a backlog of a burden.
No, Mwalimu, the bank is now yours.
I would say right now we are 51%.
Yes.
The other shareholder is 41%.
The other shareholder is Merali?
Samia Group.
Samia Group, yeah.
Yes. Of course, he has the control of majority of the shares there.
Yeah.
Maybe in the next 2, 3, 4 months, we are paying for the 24. But the agreements were signed for 75.
Yeah.
Mwalimu is secured with 75. Yeah. It's only the payment we deferred because we wanted to come in first, stand the operations of the bank as we make the additional 24%. So I want to say in the next 3 months, we will pay the additional shares to make 75.
In that bank then, once you get the 75%, what will be the role of Mwalimu and the teachers in general in terms of management of the bank? Because here you have Mwalimu as a society, and here we have a bank which is yours.
Yeah.
How do you involve yourself in the management and running of the bank to make sure it is a bank?
Yes, thank you. We are well protected in that area. As I speak now, we have 3 directors of Mwalimu in the Equatorial Bank, and the minority shareholders 2 directors. We are 3. So that tells you that we have a bigger number of the board to contribute to the performance of the bank. Robert is there, I am there, and we have another director there, so 3 of us. Maybe the other thing, Mote, you need to be aware, we also bought an insurance brokerage firm. In that transaction, they owned an insurance brokerage firm, which we also will own 75%, and we have 2 directors in the insurance brokerage firm. Now, when you look at that representation, then Mwalimu is controlling the bank. After we pay the 24 remaining, we are going to have additional 2 directors, and the minority shareholder will have only 1 director. That tells you Mutegi, the bank, is as good as Mwalimu SACCO. And once we sit in that board and in the various committees of the bank, because we have HR committee, we have credit committee, we have audit committee of the bank, where we are represented again by majority, then it tells you that we are monitoring the performance of the bank and all the strategies which have been put down. Then it's in the interest of Mwalimu Management Board to see that they are implemented and the bank makes profits for our members.
Okay. Going back to the main Mwalimu National SACCO Society. You are also having a building in Nairobi where we are building headquarters. Yes. Can you tell us about that?
Yes.
What is the project about?
The project we have in Upper Hill.
Yes.
Right now I want to say our headquarter is at Tomboya Street. We are just opposite Ambassador Hotel. It's a 10-story house, but quite small. Because of the projects we have and the kind of services we are giving to our members, we felt the space is not enough. And also the location in terms of accessing the building. And that's when in 2009, in the delegates meeting, we discussed about it. And they gave us an authority to acquire a piece of land in a better place like Upper Hill, and they put up the headquarter. And I want to say this plot was bought in 2010. Construction started in 2013 November. It's a 2-year contract. We are doing 21-story building, 3 floors and basement parkings. So we have a parking of about 200 vehicles. That solves our problem. And then office space, about 18 floors. So that's the building we are doing. I want to say 97% of the structure has been done.
How much it will cost?
The contract cost was 1.6 billion.
Yeah.
And we are on course. In fact, the contractor is ahead of time by about 4 weeks. So right now we are doing the finishing of the building. Once it's done, by February, we expect to move into that building, or even earlier, but the completion date is February 2016. We will move our offices to Upper Hill and probably retain a branch in Tomboya with Equatorial Bank.
Yes.
We have already discussed that, and they are very comfortable with a branch at Tomboya with the Mwalimu SACCO. But our headquarter for the bank and now for Mwalimu SACCO will be at Upper Hill. So we are actually doing the building to house our operations.
And you have another project also in Kisaju?
Yes, we have another project in Kisaju. This is a housing scheme for members. It's a pilot project. What we did at the society, we bought 2 pieces of land, 20 acres in Kitengela, Kisaju, and 35 acres on Juja. What we decided is let us start, because it's the first time Mwalimu is doing this, to do affordable housing for members, not necessarily low cost, in Kisaju. And we're doing 871 units, ranging from 1-bedroom apartment, 2-bedroom, 3-bedroom apartment, then townhouses, 3-bedroom, and 3-bedroom with DSQ. However, because of affordability, the townhouses are very few. We have concentrated more on the 1, 2, and 3-bedroom apartments, price ranging between 2.8 to 8 million. So the project kicked off last year in December. We handed over the site to the contractor. We actually took all our delegates, 323, when we had the annual delegates meeting, to see the progress. It's moving on very well. Project should take 150 weeks to completion, but from the speed we are seeing that the project standards are very good and the contractor is moving well. That will be the first project. We have 40 branches. That is how we run the operations in the society. 11 have actually even physical premises. The other 29 are virtual. But we have allocated the 871 units to all the 40. Now, we did this acknowledging the fact that not all of them are in Nairobi. Mwalimu is national. But for members who will purchase who are not resident in Nairobi, that's an investment for them. Remember, we are a welfare society. We're also trying to improve welfare and returns for members. Even in old age, if somebody has an investment in Kisaju, that's a very viable investment, even for their kids who might be resident in Nairobi. So we have started with that. Through that, we'll have learning lessons. Were the costs too high? What could we do to improve? And those are the discussions we'll have with our members, such that when we embark on the second project, we know exactly how to go about it. But so far, the members have really embraced the idea, and they're very happy and excited about the progress so far.
Is the contractor building, if headquarters, the same one building the project there, or they're different?
In terms of the consultants, yes, there are some areas we have retained the same consultants, because we've already worked with them and seen the progress that they have done at the headquarters. So you find some of them are similar. However, despite that, they still had to go through a proper tendering process. We follow the PPOA Act, so they still had to go through the whole tendering process, and they were just fortunate to still come out top out of it. So yes, it is quite similar consultants.
The concern I have as a member of a cooperative, I've been a member of cooperative societies for years, since many years.
Yes.
When cooperative societies start doing those grand projects,
Yes.
like big buildings, 21 stories, big building, buying a bank, essentially the role of a cooperative society is called savings and credit.
Yes.
Savings and credit. When you go and build a big building, which 21 floor, and I'm expiring after I die, and the building is there, which my money was used to build. How do I benefit?
Yes, Mr. Mutegi, I would like to answer that question. That's a very good question. That's one issue our members have raised, and as you have rightly said, it's very important for the member who is retiring to feel proud of Mwalimu SACCO. Now, what you have done, you have created an asset management company, also a subsidiary of Mwalimu SACCO. Now, that company is going to handle our assets. Now, the assets include the bank, it includes the buildings, the Tomboya building, the Upper Hill building, and even right now the Kisanju project. So what we are going to do, we are fronting Mwalimu Asset Management is 100% owned by Mwalimu National SACCO. But Mwalimu is going to offload 40% of the shares in the asset management company, so that Mwalimu as a SACCO will hold 60% and the members 40%. Now, once you subscribe to the 40%, then you own a piece of Upper Hill, you own Tomboya Street. We have also a plot in Nyeri, which I will say is our branch in Nyeri. That will also be in the asset management, and all other assets which you are going to acquire will be in the asset management. So even if a member leaves, the member will still have shares in the asset management company, and you'll be getting returns from that investment. And that's how Mutegi, you have taken control of that, because you did not want a member to leave and feel that the expansion was done with my money, and yet I have nothing to show my children for it. So they are going to buy shares, and we are going to consider from the members who joined in 1974, so that we give them an opportunity to purchase the shares from Mwalimu Asset Management Company.
But they have no money to buy? If I joined in 74, they're too old now.
Yeah.
Are you allocating, giving, you are asking to buy?
Yeah, we are considering, we are asking them to buy.
They have no money. Some are retired, some are dead.
Yes. Yeah, but what we felt, we are sharing one share at 100 shillings, and the minimum you can buy a shares worth 50,000, and the maximum shares worth 20 million. Now, whatever they can afford to buy, I think will be okay. But these are talks in progress. We have not closed the doors to how the ownership of the asset management company. So some of the issues which will come are like the ones you are talking about. Here are owned members who have supported the SACCO. They cannot afford to buy. What do we do? Because we can even, as a management, have some allocation of shares to those members.
The original members.
Because of the support.
Yeah.
Yes. And let me tell you, Mutegi, you have been supported by members who joined that SACCO from 1974. And most of them are still our members, except those who have died, of course. But there are talks in progress. As I speak now, we are in the process of registering the asset management company. And once we do that, the registration is over, then we'll think about now how to offload the shares to the members. But it's something we are discussing.
Now, going back to savings and credit.
Yes.
All this money you're spending doing this project.
Yes.
An ordinary teacher in the village primary school,
Yes.
is he or she getting credit? Or you are telling they come at the end, we are told, wait for another 3 months, there is no money now, wait for are they getting credit?
Actually,
because that is the reason why we save.
Yeah.
I save not to have a building in Nairobi or in Kisaju.
Yes.
I save so that I can borrow money and buy a cow.
Yes.
Put in my boma. Are the teachers getting credit?
Actually, I'll respond to that in 2 ways. One, as you rightfully said in the beginning, savings and credit, that's what we are there for. Mwalimu prides itself in the sense that we are one of the few SACCOs whereby people don't queue for loans. We have never had a scenario, despite the projects we are doing, where members actually have to come and queue to get loans. The moment they apply, they do get the facilities. Now, I'll take that a bit further to answer the question of then why these other projects. Remember, we cannot ignore the fact that Mwalimu is playing in a financial environment. So our board is being proactive enough to realize that how can Mwalimu be cannibalized in terms of membership? As we have said, we are also fighting with banks. We are also fighting with the M-Pesa businesses that are there. There are microfinance banks. There are Shylocks that are still there. And what do our members want? As they save, to borrow at reduced rates. But remember, the other benefit they have been getting is the dividend at the end of every year. And
what percentage dividend?
Actually, we're one of the highest payers. On dividend, we paid 12.15.
Some cooperatives give 14.
We are, true, some give 14, but look at the consistency and the sustainability of that. For Mwalimu, it's been rising gradually over time. In fact, we have a number of members who left, and they are all now trotting back. Now, why these other investments? Remember, as we reduce our lending rates, we cannot reduce our interest rebate and dividends. And as I said, there are months where we are liquid. We have to look for where do we put this liquid money such that it can sustain the increased returns.
Lend it to members.
Now, remember, there are also restrictions in terms of overtrading. You can't lend everything to members, and members also have an appetite. As I said, our lending is cyclical. From the months of October to April, appetite of borrowing in Mwalimu is very high. Those months we are strained on cash flow. From the month of, actually mid-April, all the way to August, members' appetite drops. You actually go looking for them to come and borrow, and they tell you, no, we are busy. We are teaching, we are doing what, give us time, we'll come back. So in those months, you still have to invest that money for them into credible operations, and that is what we are actually doing. I'll take it slightly further and look at, let's go outside the country and look at how do when you go outside Africa, they call them credit unions. How are they operating? They have realized the need to invest into other areas so that as a welfare, the SACCO deals with everything from banking, from normal transactional services. Then you go even outside, we cover them on death. We are looking at how do you cover them even now in their normal social life. What do you do? So that the SACCO as Mwalimu deals with members' needs end to end. That's what we're trying to look at. That's why this diversification. And the projects are actually need-based. If you come to where we are at Tomboya, we've actually outgrown the building. As the membership grows, the balance sheet grows, the staff numbers grow, you need more space. And that's actually what we're looking at. We also look at security of the members, access to the building. That's why Upper Hill was very viable. What other benefit do I get from being a member of Mwalimu? I bought a house through Mwalimu in Kisaju. Those are the additional benefits we are looking to give our members so that their money remains within.
I'm told we are running out of time. Mrs. Mutegi and Shivatsu, whatever. Your name is
Shibutse.
Yes.
And now I take you back to the other studios where you can hear some Christian music.
Yes.